Alright guys, I got the first video uploaded. I realized I videotaped it the wrong way. Hopefully I'm videotaping the correct way now. Like I said, don't know what I'm doing. I got the truck back in the garage here, ready to get the mounts tacked on and then fully welded on. I decided to do it before I ran to the store so they can be cooling down so I can work on it more when I get home. Alright, so we got the truck backed in. Like I said, all I did, marked center of my tube, got the mount on, decided where I wanted it. All I did was I took a straight edge that can bend like that way, and I clamped it to the bottom shock tab and to the top. That way when you're lining it up, you can tell if it has flex in it or not, and that way I could get them perfectly lined up. So now all I'm gonna do is tack that one on, then get the front mount on, and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so I got this bracket all welded on. I'm gonna plate the back of it down just so it looks like one solid box. So now all we gotta do is get the other one on, run out, get some bolts, some more grade 8 bolts to mount the shocks, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to get the other side to match the correct angle, because as you've seen, I marked the center of the tube, tacked it, I mounted the shock, and then moved the suspension as much as I could with my weight, and I didn't really like the length that it was putting the shock at compressed, so I just broke the tacks off, ground them down, rolled the mount up, and then I don't even know what this thing's called. I just found it in a drawer of my dad's stuff. I used this, set it at the angle of the other mount, so now I can take the other mount, clamp this one on, set it at the correct angle, mark everything the way I did, and tack it on. So this is how I'm making sure it's straight. I have that clamp down there, and you can see that this is straight, but it's not touching yet. So whenever I tap this over, this will rest right up against it, and when I flick it, it'll come back and stick right there and not have any bow in this. Alright guys, so we got both shock tabs welded on. All I got to do is plate the back of them. I can't decide how I want to do that yet. I have a piece of plate steel that I could probably cut them out of, but it's a lot easier just to buy stock in smaller width so it's less cutting, so I may go that route because I got to go get bolts anyway. And if you notice, you see how this gap is narrower than that gap? That's because the rear of the frame is narrower than the front, so this actually tapers. So this bar is shorter than that bar, and it tapers back a little bit. It kind of looks weird standing at the rear of it, but I took 1,000 different measurements and double checked before I welded everything, and that's sadly just the way that it sits. So these notches aren't completely parallel to each other. They run away from the truck this way, but got them welded on. Gonna run to Tractor Supply and pick up some bolts if they have any. They usually don't because Tractor Supply sucks, but they have the best prices on grade 8 bolts, so we're gonna head there now. All right, so we're in the Kia. I'm at Tractor Supply. Of course, they didn't have any bolts that I needed. They have the best bin selection of grade 8 bolts around, but they never have anything. Everything's always mixed up. They never have two of the same thing. I found one bolt that would work. I just couldn't find anything. All right, so we went to Lowe's after Tractor Supply. They had one bolt that would work. I would like to have 4 and replace all the shock bolts. The 2 factory ones will work, but I would like to just replace them with all the same hardware, just so it all looks the same. So now I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and go to the auto parts store, even though they never have bolts, but maybe they can order me 2 more factory bolts, so then they'll all be the same. We'll see. I'll let you guys know. Just made it back home from the auto parts store. My dude Steven, very helpful, couldn't get me any bolts. So I'm just gonna use the 2 factory bolts and then the 2 bolts that came with the DJM lowering kit to mock it up, and then when Fastenal or Orangeby open tomorrow, I'll go there and look. Hopefully they'll have something that'll work. But we're gonna get into bracing the notch now, so I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. All right, so here's my tubing notcher. It's obviously seen better days. It's just the cheap one from Harbor Freight. It's not the best. It really, I mean, it works. It holds it, it notches it. It does what it's supposed to do, kinda. I got to use this magnet for a spacer. Had to chop that to clear some stuff. You know, it's seen better days, but it gets the job done. So we're gonna go ahead and get this tube in here, and I'll show you how I measure all that. All right, so how I jig this up is I cut my piece an inch longer than what the measurement needs to be. I mark a 1/2 inch down and put it on that weld seam. So this isn't DOM, which DOM stands for drawn over manual, so you wouldn't have that weld seam where this isn't like a roll cage or something super structural. This is fine. Yes, it's a brace. You could do without the brace, but I'm using it for looks and just to fill in that gap. So you're gonna mark a 1/2 inch down, a 1/2 inch down, so when you cut that out, it's gonna be the measurement that you originally took. And that's why all these cut marks are here, because clearly it doesn't cut even. You could shim that, but I've never done anything that's, you know, super critical enough where, because you're grinding on this anyway, so it's technically not perfectly in the center, but you're grinding on it enough anyway to get the bevels right to weld. It doesn't matter, but that's what these slits are here for, because I got to go in here and cut this off with an angle grinder, because your hole saw bit isn't deep enough to go all the way through that, so you have to cut it off and then finish drilling through it. All right, so we've got it notched, got it tacked into place, got it centered between that brace. You can kind of see the angle that I was talking about now, about how it isn't perfectly, well, how it's not perfectly straight, but this one, the bar going between the shock brace and the other bar is perfectly straight, but you can see the taper. All right, so we got that tube welded in. Still got to cut that one, notch it, and get it welded in. But I'm actually going to run back to Tractor Supply and pick up a piece of metal, because I have an idea that I want to try. I don't know how it's going to look, so we'll tack it in and see. All right, guys, we just left Tractor Supply, picked up some metal, went to Walmart, got a snack and some more cutoff wheels. So we're going to go back to the house. I may get a little bit more done tonight. I don't know. I got to be at work at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's currently 7:42, and I haven't slept since I got off work last night. But we're going to go eat and then maybe work on it a little bit more. I'm not sure yet. Probably going to pick back up on it in the morning. All right, guys, so we left off with me leaving Walmart. In the last clip, if you remember me saying that I got something to eat and I was going to head home and work, well, I got some lunch meat, and I don't know if it was bad or what, but I got sick. I just got out of bed. It's like 11:30. So we're going to get back to work on the truck. I did a few things last night when I got home, just because I really wasn't tired and I wanted to work on it a little bit more. So we're going to get the truck back in the garage, and I'm going to show you guys that. So like I said, I had an idea. I wanted to try this out where the gap was uneven. Unfortunately, I had to buy my metal at Tractor Supply. That is the most expensive way to buy metal. I do not recommend doing it that way unless you were in a pinch. I was in a pinch, wanted to try this, didn't have enough material here at the house to try it. But all I did, so this is a 3-inch gap, and this is a 2-inch gap. So I got a 3-inch piece of stock, 3-inch wide piece of stock, tapered it, set my holes, drilled these 3 one size, these 3 another size, so it kind of keeps in that taper effect. I could have tapered them out, but I didn't really have the correct drill bits to perfectly taper them. I kind of like the way that looks. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's in there now, but I don't know if I want to keep with that design throughout gussets that I do on this truck, because this is not where we're finishing with this truck. I do plan on building a ladder rack to haul metal on, because this is technically, you know, like my quote-unquote shop truck now, for my welding business or whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to go ahead and get the brace in on that side, and then I'll show you how I laid out all those holes. Okay, so when laying out your holes, it just depends how many holes you want, how big they're gonna be, what you want the spacing to be. But on this particular one, so this was 2.5 inches wide, the final, my final grind, getting it all to lay in perfect that way that I wanted it. This was 1.75 inches wide, final grind the way that I want it to fit, everything beveled, beveled for welds, everything. So then these top 3 holes are going to be 1.375 inches diameter hole. The last 3 are going to be a 7/8 diameter hole. So all you do is you come up here, measure. So 1.25 inches is half, 7/8 is a half. Mark your center line to take measurement. So we got 2, 4.25, 6 7/16, 8 5/8, 10 3/16, and 12 15/16. Gets all of our spacing perfectly even on this to go ahead and drill the holes, get this gusset plate done and welded in. So then you're going to come with your center punch, mark the center of all your holes and start drilling. I like to step up in drill bit size, so I'm going to start with a 1/4 inch drill bit and work my way all the way up just to put less stress on the drill bits and make it go a little quicker. And I realized I videotaped that the wrong direction, but it was a time lapse of drilling holes. I can't undrill the holes to re-videotape it, so it's just gonna have to be narrow screen. All right, so I finally got all those holes drilled, ready to lay it in there, get it welded in. I think I have enough gas left on the welder to get this plate welded in, and then I'm gonna have to run to town and exchange the tank so I can finish the bracing. All right, so I got that one welded in, and now I'm struggling. I don't know what kind of bracing design I want to do in here. My trailer hitch, I put it behind the license plate and got it up as high as I could. That way I could still pull a trailer, and I just did this just because, like I said, I like to overbuild everything because I get nervous that it's gonna break. But I really don't know what design I want to put in here because it's going to be visible, obviously, because there's going to be a big hole in the bed. So I took a picture of it. I'm going to play around with drawing some lines in on my phone and just see if I can find something that I think that I like. All right, guys, so what I've decided to do is just do 2 straight bars, and the reason that I landed on that is I was drawing pictures on my phone, and then I couldn't really see what it was like because I was just drawing them on Snapchat and couldn't draw them perfectly straight. So I came out here with some masking tape, started laying stuff out, and then I was looking at it, took some measurements, and if I ever did decide to put bags on this, my pumpkin was going to be super close to hitting any bar that would have been running across it in the center. So what I decided to do was just run 2 bars. I measured this, got half, which was 14 7/16, and then I just divided the half there, 7 7/32 to get the half. So I'm just going to put 2 bars in there. That way it'll still look super clean and simple. And if I ever did decide to put bags on it, I would have plenty of room here to make bag mounts, and my pumpkin could still come up. All right, guys, well, we got the braces welded in, so we're pretty much done with the notch. All I have left is to cap the back of the shock tabs, but that's nothing really interesting to watch. All I got to cut is 2 squares and weld them in. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video right here. I hope you guys like following along and watching me build this and how I built it. I know I didn't get it all on video, but I just wanted to get some of it. Next, we're going to move on to the front, and then we're going to cut the bed. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you liked it. I guess I'll keep making some videos. I don't really know. We'll just see how it goes.